everyone. Welcome to my channel, The Healing Heart. I'm Calgan, you're you, and let's go through this together. I actually don't have any coconut water today, but I do have some really nice bottled fresh water and banana. Bananas are good for potassium and energy because like I say in most of my videos, it's very important to keep your body well fueled while you make your way through this time. So, and today's video is a theme, which is an idea that I had for a book there for a while called The Curse of the Perfect Childhood. And what I mean by that is in my years of counseling and studies and what I've seen is a lot of the time the counselor or the psychologist, you'll go back and you'll look at your childhood experiences and how they play a part in your adult life. Especially when it comes to reacting to emotional situations like a breakup, especially divorce, death in a lot of ways, that sort of thing. And when they look back and you look at your childhood, perhaps you came from an abusive home, perhaps you were put in foster care, lots of daycare, perhaps your own parents divorced, perhaps there was a lot of arguing, perhaps there was a lot of back and forth. A lot of the time people use children, unfortunately, against each other, that sort of thing. And so your attachment style, if you like, or your belief in relationships is going to be really painted by that experience, okay? But today I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable as well because I'm going to use my own situation as a bit of an example. So my childhood was pretty good compared to a lot, you know. My family, my parents were sort of very loving and supportive. My father worked hard to make sure that we had everything we needed, going to school, you know, food, house, all of that sort of thing. They hardly ever argued in front of us. In fact, I don't remember them arguing in front of us. And they were together until my father passed away, which was 40-something years, okay? So my childhood was pretty steady, pretty stable, and fairly supported, I felt. You know, I always reflect back and think, geez, I had a really good childhood. So why do I react the way I do when breakups occur? Now, when people get married, part of the traditional wedding vows are till death do us part. And so when you consider that your family life was stable, steady, your parents were together all that time, that sort of thing, and you know about this wedding vow, till death do us part, that starts to really become part of your core belief of how relationships are supposed to be. So you sort of grow up thinking, okay, well, this is how a relationship is, this is how being married is, and that starts to become your core belief, okay? And therefore, when your relationship ends, you are left with a massive amount of confusion because your core belief system is being challenged, and you start to wonder why, you know, this is not how it's supposed to be, and this is not what's supposed to be happening. And those sort of when you come from that sort of background and it doesn't work out that way for you, well, then it can become really, really confusing. Now, the other thing is, I talked a little bit in another video about attachment styles, and there's quite a lot of information out there these days on attachment theory and attachment styles. And one of the great coaches on YouTube, Craig Kenneth, he's done a lot of great videos on attachment styles. So if you want to look up some of his stuff, that will explain a lot more about it. But attachment style does start from early childhood, from birth even, and is with us through our whole life. Now, while my childhood was stable and I grew up in a beautiful coastal town and we had everything we needed and that sort of thing, my parents were still not very good at expressing emotional love, emotional support. And even today, my mum still has trouble saying "I love you." You know, she'll say it if I prompt it and wait for it. But so when you're growing up, when you're a child, you start to come up with things like, what can I do to get that love? You know, what can I do to feel loved and to be loved? And then when you start to get older and you get into romantic relationships, that belief, that core belief or that attachment style starts coming to the fore with your partner, especially if they are avoidant attachment style and they pull away a bit, and you start thinking, oh my God, what do I need to do to get love, to get that love from my partner that I need? And my attachment style would have started through my childhood because of that. But I think also what has happened is a build-up of all the relationships I've been in, because I've been in love a few times, and I've never been the one to leave the relationship. It's always been my partner leaving me. And so after a while, you know, after a few of these and after a few years, you can really start to feel abandoned, that you're unlovable, that you won't be able to get that love. And the other thing is that when this keeps happening, after a while, you start to have a belief in yourself that when you get into a relationship, it's going to end. And when I went into my last relationship, which became my marriage, I was very aware of that feeling. I was very aware of that thought, and I tried all I could to ignore it and fight it and push it away. And, you know, look, I was deeply entrenched in my marriage, in love with my wife, but there was still that little 5% nagging voice that would say, well, it's probably going to end one day anyway. And that is a horrible thing to carry because, in some ways, perhaps we manifest it. Perhaps that voice grows, and perhaps because we believe it's going to end anyway, we start to act in ways that will manifest it. So it's definitely worth having a look to, you know, have you had that sort of thought? Do you have that belief? Are you stuck in a thought pattern? You might be single now and thinking, well, I'm never going to get into another relationship again. And similar to what I was just saying, if you have that belief, if you tell yourself, oh, I'm never going to get into another relationship again, well, that may be what comes to pass. But, you know, look, the best thing to do is to heal from this breakup, first of all, and then become sort of open to the idea of getting into another relationship, because this breakup that you're going through now could be a real springboard to learning a lot about relationship dynamics, re- learning about your attachment style, your background, all the things that make you who you are and how you act in relationships. And also, if you find the right person, then you know it should last for sure, because the right person, if they love you, then they won't leave you. And that's a side thought that I was just having about people who break up will a lot of the time say, well, they were the one, you know, they were my soulmate, and I've lost them now. But unfortunately, if they've left you, if you've broken up, then they're not the one, are they? And you don't want that one, because you want one that is going to be the one. So look, I hope that helps. Perhaps you can relate to that. Perhaps you look back at your upbringing and your relationship history and think, you know, it wasn't that bad. I had a good childhood. My parents were together, you know, still together, whatever. But I still take breakups really badly. So perhaps that is a big part of why, because of your expectations, that's how it's supposed to be. So when it doesn't work out that way, you're left confused and feeling abandoned, basically. I hope that helps. If you know anyone else that would like this video, please share it with them. If it helps just one person, then I'm glad I've put it up. I've got my email address down below. If you're going through a breakup, you want to send me a summary of that, I'll take a look at the first one for free. If you like the video, put a like on it, hit the subscribe button, and that will help get the content out there to those that may need it. But in the meantime, please take care of yourself, your heart, and your health.